Hey everybody, Dr. Joe Buffiel here, Buffiel Family Chiropractic, and the podcast Abundant Health Naturally. Today we have a special guest from Rosemont Chiropractic in Virginia Beach, Dr. Bob Lieb. Dr. Bob Lieb is a wonderful friend of mine. He was a coach of mine, and I am just excited to have him on the show today. And we're going to do several different segments of this show. And the first one is about really, we care as doctors of chiropractic and how much we care for our patients, our practice members. And I just want you to take a moment and sit back and enjoy this segment of an hour-long video that we did interviewing and talking and encouraging one another. But stay tuned for this very first segment of Dr. Bob Lieb on Abundant Health Naturally. Thank you.
I thought this was an interesting topic that you chose.
Something in common, something that you had coached me on, but yet how can we bring it forth in a way that the people that we get to connect with on a daily basis really understands that we care. I had an interesting yesterday, just a little aside, but we lost a patient. One of our patients, his name is Paul. He and his wife come in on a regular basis. About every 3 weeks, I see them. And Paul's in his late 70s. And unfortunately, over the weekend, he passed away in his sleep. And all I kept thinking about yesterday was his wife. And they are extremely blessed people. He's worked hard. He retired maybe about 2 years ago. But it just brings in perspective of the blessings that you have, that every moment is no ordinary moment. And I'm sure in the years that you've been in practice, you've had those moments as well, where someone that you deeply cared for and connected with, that you just all of a sudden things change.
Yeah, we had similar thing last night. We saw somewhere 100 and something people yesterday, and then my last patient of the day is a patient who's the youngest of three generations and an adult of patients I've been taking care of in their family, and told me that her dad was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and it's inoperable and untreatable. So, that when you've known somebody for that many years, it still hits you like it would any friend or anybody dear to you, because that level of caring is there. So, I don't know. I don't It's interesting because you bring this into perspective. So the caring part, right? Because you have to care. I remember Frank Savinsky, an old mentor of mine, would say, yeah, I care, but not that much. I have to care, but not that much. And find a line where you care enough about patients, but not so much that it you get sick trying to get them better. So there's ways of looking at both sides. Sometimes we care so much, we worry so much about people, patients, trying to encourage them to make better decisions, bringing awareness to them to make the better decision. And then when they don't, it can be very frustrating when we spend nights and weekends and things worrying about patients and then that can get into our family lives and our time because we're worried about somebody who's not taking care of themselves. There has to be some kind of a line that you have to draw to keep your own self healthy, and a boundary, if you will, to protect yourself. But there's something about what we do, how often we see the patient, how much time we spend with these people away from our families, that make them feel almost like family to us, and we end up caring so much about them. So sometimes more than they care about themselves.
Interesting you say that, more than they care about themselves. How we do invest that call, that God-given call to make a difference in these people's lives. And there are those moments where it does feel and seem like we care more about them than they care about themselves.
Yeah. And the ironic side of that is that a lot of the people that may cause us as much frustration are doing the same thing that we're doing. right? They're running around caring for their family, running their kids all over the place, trying to keep up with their jobs and families and things like that. And they have to make similar philosophically. There's the same decision making process going on in them that we're talking about too, where we have to stop and pause and say, where do I draw the line as a doctor doctoring a patient to say what's healthy and what's not healthy for me to cross that boundary of caring too much that it affects my life. They have to figure out, where do I draw the line in caring for everybody else in my family and others in my life that I need to care for myself, and reel that and be able to be aware of that boundary.
The boundary is the anchor to balance. Think of those big ships that you have in your area there in Virginia Beach. If they're not anchored in, they're going to be just aimlessly walking, floating all over the place.
Yeah, that's not good.
No.
All these freighters and ships coming through Chesapeake Bay, and then put them in the way of our military, hundreds of military ships here, it would be a problem. Let alone just me trying to go fishing on the weekend.
Oh, yes.
And we're all guilty of the same thing, right? So I'm guilty of it as a doctor. Last year we had my wife got very ill, and it took a lot for all of us and the family to step up and do more because of how much she does for us to try and fill her role for our kids and work. So, when we get into that level of stress or those type of situations, we tend to give up, unfortunately, for whatever the reason is, we give up the things that were making us healthy in the first place, right? We tend to pull away from the exercise. I really don't have time to exercise, or I really don't have time to sit down and make a healthy meal. Let me do something quick so we can just get fed. And you start to lose time trying to go through those moments. And the opposite is true now too. She's healing and recovering and being able to do more each day. And so that means now I have a little bit more time on my hands, and I'm like, okay, now I have to get back to exercising, and I have to get back to my meditations and my journaling and all my things that I was doing before that were keeping me going. And it's up to me to make that decision to say I have the time and not just fill it up with other stuff, but to get back to the things that keep me on purpose.
Interesting how there are so many distractions that we've talked about boundaries, we talked about anchoring in, but with all the distractions that are constantly around us, whether it's a sick family member recovering, improving, or our businesses, our practice life, or our children, and the different phases in the life that they are growing in process. It's amazing the distractions that can be roadblocks and deterrence from what we're truly after. I just said to Jill, gosh, maybe about 15 minutes ago, how it's just amazing how much we're constantly in a struggle of do this, don't do that. But if you do that, things will work out fine. But see, you did that. Now you have to, there's a consequence for that. So it's that tug of war of, I don't know if it's good versus evil or right and wrong, but it's making decisions and having the revelation, the wisdom of which step to take next.
This is our stepping stone into the outline that you sent me, because which is the step to take next, right? So we talk about, I think the first level of fixing anything is awareness, right? If you're just cruising along, scrolling through a Facebook feed, you're not really aware of what's going on in your physical body or what's happening in your life. You're lost into a scroll, right? And sometimes we go there just to calm down for a minute and escape life for a minute. But when we do it too much, then we're missing life. And the very thing that we're trying to connect with in life is the thing that we're trying to distract ourselves from at the same time, right? Ironic, but we will never find that in a scroll, but there's something very addicting about it. And that's where all the distractions come into play too. And people are distracted by so many things on there. And one of our bigger issues these days as a doctor is patients coming to the office with a AI generated, completely fake ad for something that doesn't even exist in reality, that's going to get them better because they saw it on Facebook. And then we have to not just give them the awareness of what the problem is that they need to resolve, but now we have to face all these other things that are coming from all these other places that just aren't even real. So without real people, without real anything in them, and it's very difficult because AI is so good at its job that we can't hardly tell the difference between, is that a real person, or is that an AI generated person, or is that a real statement, or are they just using a voice dub over something else? And it's just crazy what you can do these days to manipulate the human mind. But the distractions are a major problem, and that's maybe part of our ongoing job as chiropractors, is to try and keep bringing everybody back and keep them on the purpose of healing. And yeah, we're here today. And have you been doing the dental roll we recommended? Are you doing the exercise we recommended? Are you eating that diet we spoke of? Are you taking those supplements? So on and so forth.
All the things.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm bringing them back. Come on back. And they got to get it in it. Come on back.
It's the intentions in our life. Patients come to us with the intention that they're hurting, but we have to give them that environment that they know they're in the right place and they're loved, they're cared for.
Yeah. The caring part has to come through us. Understanding, empathy, knowing that as we're giving them information, sometimes we're telling them something that we need to hear. The awareness of that, to maintain that all day long in those conversations. The universe is always speaking to us, right? One way or the other. Starts out with messages, or it'll get louder. There's so many things we say to people all day long that are just so powerful. Sometimes I wonder if they're really getting the depth of what we're trying to say, and transitioning somebody from focusing on the pain to focusing on the problem, the underlying problem, and not just covering up the problem that we do on so many levels of our life, right? It's not just chiropractic, but it's the philosophy of chiropractic to get to the cause and not just keep smearing band-aids on the solution, right? Or the end symptom, I should say, not solution. But and we're always drawn back and forth into those conversations, and we fall into that ourselves sometimes too. So we have to have that understanding when we're communicating with patients. We're human, they're human. We got to find a way through all this together, and you have to be willing to do the work. And I think that's sadly a lost value. It's in our culture right now, right? And people want something for nothing has always been a bit of an issue as human beings, but the depth of it and the growing number of people on that path is creating an issue even in the world of healthcare, because we're like, hey, here, you can get better, but that you're going to have to work, because you spent all these years not working on this problem. Now we've got a mess on our hands. And so you can get better if you stick with it and be consistent and do the work. And so not everybody wants to do it.
There is value in taking responsibility, personal responsibility, and ownership. In the scriptures, it says faith without works is dead. So we have to work. We can't just sit and rub the lamp and think the genie's going to come out and fix all the problems.
You talk about responsibility, and then you talk about this current culture, and some of it is we raise the kids that don't have the work ethic. So somewhere in there we missed as parents, and we have to take responsibility for that. But in providing and not allowing them to figure out how to create for themselves, right? I grew up where I had to, and some of that has created some unhealthy things in me too. So, but at the same time, doing the work is something I take joy in, and feeling the sense of accomplishment when you've created something amazing and beautiful. And it's why I think I can share the joy with my patient when when they're doing the work, and I'm doing the work with them, and we're part of this thing that we're making together. When they do turn that corner and see the health coming and the changes in their body, it's even more enjoyable because we take joy in our work. We find joy in this process and helping other people and sharing the changes that they're going through together. It's more meaningful.
I look forward to this being something that we share with many people, but just to let everybody know that we do genuinely care for you.